The biggest thing that I wanted to say to all of you is it's okay to be exhausted. It's okay to be tired. In fact, if you aren't tired, fantastic. Stay there. We need you. We need you with your buzzy, creative, light, high energy. And the reason I bring this up is various friends of mine, some of them you would know, they're public people with this work. And then friends of mine who aren't public people with this work, but who are very like us in that they track energy, feel energy, they're sensitive, they're empathic, they're healers, they're alchemists, they're mystics, but they're also very grounded, a lot of them. The theme I keep hearing is how tired everyone is. And not that kind of tired, I haven't slept enough, although that's probably going on for a lot of you as well. I know me and several members of our team were like, oh my God, we're up at 4:30 and then but the tiredness is to be expected at the moment. So again, if you're not tired, don't worry, just hold space for the rest of us. You just need to have this conversation for a moment. And it's interesting because the other day I recorded the channel for July. And the title for the channel for July is Create Your Future. Or is it Creating Your Future? I think it's Create Your Future. And the subline for the channel is Elevating the 2020 to 2030 Timeline. Now, if you followed my work for a while, or even just for the last 6 to 12 months, you'll have heard the Z's, the Guide's Eye channel, talk a lot about this decade being ultra important in terms of the axis shift of consciousness and actual transformation on the planet. It's been brewing. I mean, it's interesting. A lot of people will say it's been brewing since 2012. The Z's have always said to me that 2012 started about 3 or 4 years ahead of time. So that actually for some people, it started 2008, 2009, that ramping up of energy. But where a lot of the transformational energy between 2012 and 2016 was showing up in physical ways for some and showing up in the world in some ways, there were seeds. They said it wasn't really until 2016 that the ground started to shake a bit more on the planet. And they said it would be from 2020 onwards that we would start to see more actual physical manifestations happening regularly. So one thing that I really noticed and that I found really tough during March and April was that when the dark rears its head right now, it rears its head in a bigger, more visible, more spiky, pointed way than perhaps many of us have seen it playing out in the world. And that's really hard for your heart, especially if you as a heart energy person had got used to staying open in a certain way. Because all of us can have our hearts open, we can close them, we can pull back, we can get defensive, we can go through all kinds of states of openness around our heart energy. And one of the things that has been really interesting in the last few months is this spike of dark and light. I didn't like it very much. And I said that to the Z's in April and they were like, well, get used to it because this is how it's going to go. And so I say that first of all to those of you who now need to grieve that fact, to those of you who are in upset, resistance, anger, or denial that that's going on, you're going to move through those feelings. And the sooner we get with the program that that's kind of what's going on in the next 3-4 years, I promise you, the stronger you will be. If you are able to recognize that between now and 2024, there is going to be this accordion effect on the planet happening at a stronger level than before, you're going to be able to harness the light side of it. What I mean by that is it breaks your heart to see and feel and be impacted by, depending on the day, what's going on the planet. It's hard to separate from the elevation of pain and suffering that you can see in the world. But that elevation of pain and suffering is not just linear. What I mean by that is, especially if it's the media telling the story, or somebody who's in a lot of grief and suffering telling you the story about what's going on in the world, it's just going to be coated in that energy. But what's actually happening, and this is what the Z's talk about in Create Your Future, or Creating Your Future. I'll remember that when I'm looking at the text for you guys. And that recording, by the way, will be with you a week Monday, if not before. They talked about the ancient clear out that we are now having go on. So for example, what we in America have just very deeply experienced that has rippled around the world is the racial injustice here, again, rearing its head. And the shock, horror, and the intensity of the energy of that, for everybody who has felt it, who has had some kind of connection to it, has been very, very visceral and very through the body. And what the Z's were explaining was, they said, yes, these kinds of events are happening in the now, in 2020, in a very specific 2020 new way. But they said what's different about the time that we're in now is we are tracking back through our ancestral lineage in a way we never have before. They said because the consciousness levels have raised on the planet, because everything is a little more psychically connected than it used to be, there is an almighty flush beginning to happen through our bodies. So when it looks like we're focusing on the racial injustice of 2020, and of course, we're all talking about the fact that, well, this has been going on a very long time and it has to stop. And of course, you also have to be careful about who might be co-opting that for their own agenda, who might be co-opting telling the story of the division at a protest. Oh, look, let's point out this one person or two people or three people who turned to violence. Let's ignore all the peaceful protesters. Let's frame the story this way so that we can justify our actions, so that we can justify what we do next. So there's a lot of that going on as well. And what's happening for all of us is this very uncomfortable, but very power-based flush through the body. So if you look at the world right now, power, control, and freedom are up front and center in the picture. Power, control, and freedom, and the dance between power, control, and freedom. So we're going to see it play out when we look at government. We're going to see it play out when we're in a less conscious or less healed area of ourselves or our intimate relationships. Power, control, and freedom. But what the Z's were saying was, they said, never more than now have the past, the present, and the future been more intersected. They say there's always seeds of the past for humans in our own personal lives, in our ancestral heritage, in the countries that we're in, the land, all of it. But they said never like this. This is a time where all of this ancient energy is fusing with the present. And what they share in Create Your Future, or Creating Your Future, we'll see, is, I think it's create, yeah. The ancient power that's coming back to us. Part of the flush of the ancient wounds and the ancient imbalances that we're having to process through personally and as a world is they're getting us back in touch with an ancient power that is coming back to and through us. Welcome to The Portal. The Portal is my monthly members community, and we have been going for almost 8 years. Some have called it a sanctuary for sensitives. It's a place where I get to offer you tools to help you thrive, survive, and expand your life. So every month, I get to bring in-depth teaching, specially curated content, and we do all of this in a private community. Over the years, my energy updates have become popular, but the thing about reading for everybody and the amount of people who tune into those now is we don't always necessarily get to specify. Every month, I do a 90-minute live broadcast, which is archived and available for replays for many months afterwards, where not only do I do an in-depth energy read for the portal member community, I also take live questions. So we have some pre-submitted questions, but we have a lot of live on-air questions. I stopped doing personal sessions a couple of years ago, so this is a great way to get your question answered, but also through this curated questioning, we get to uplift as a community because the thoughts, the concerns, the hopes that are on the community's mind get looked at, and the energy tune-up becomes a healing call as a result. Secondly, you will receive that month's latest MP3. Every single month, we create a brand new MP3 that is usually a channel from my guides, the Z's, with sound healing and often with an original song at the end, which I create in collaboration with Slovenian sound healer and composer Davor Bozik. These MP3s are designed to support you with what's going on in current energies and essentially to be an hour of audio medicine that you can listen to that month and forever in the future. Many people revisit these MP3s time and time again. We also have a classics library, 8 of my past titles that are favorites that rotate every 5 months so that you get to go deeper with some recordings you may have otherwise missed or not been able to find in the past. Stephen Washington, my husband, delivers Qigong videos and teaching every single month that's exclusive to those of you in the portal. He creates a Qigong sequence that he bases on the themes of that month's energy update. Usually this is around 30 minutes long, and it remains in the portal as an archive for a full year after its first broadcast. So you immediately have access to 12 Qigong sequences on video from Stephen. Stephen also creates a short meditation every single month. These are around 7-8 minutes long because I wanted them to be short enough for you to use very easily, and he has created these with Davor Bozik. As a welcome bonus gift when you join the portal, you will find Intuitive Power, the full video recording of our one-day event in London that kicked off our Intuitive Power tour. It's approximately 5 hours. It features myself and Stephen. If you've never been able to get to a live event, it's a great way to experience the live energy in the room and also learn some things about intuition, your body, and wellness along the way. And finally, my favorite thing is our Facebook community. Our Facebook community is a private group, so it allows people to have discussions, engage with each other, and support each other in the privacy of a contained group. So along with special discounts for portal members, we managed to bring all of this to you at an incredibly affordable fee every month. So if you want to try the portal, see if it resonates with you for a month, we would love to have you join us, try it out, and we hope you stay because we love serving our members and we love curating and creating the portal every single month.